Let's get there.
We're just happy shirts are involved today.
Hawaiian shirts.
It's getting too hot in these lights. Buttons are about to start popping. Just, we're going to retro.
Let's finish this off with an... This is where we start.
This is where we start laughing.
Exploratory
Every
retrospectives.
So these are possibly the most important and possibly the most difficult. They require the strongest facilitation, or they will be the least value to the team members. And let's remember for a second, the retro is for the team. It's not for the facilitator. It's not for a manager. It's not for anybody except the team. That is a team event just for the team. The reason I say they can be so valuable or so unvaluable is because you have to be able to direct the conversation without telling people what to say. That's very difficult because oftentimes as a Scrum Master, you have a thing you want the team to talk about, and it's important to you. It may or may not be important to the team. They may not realize it's important. So I can tell you, you have to care about moving your stories across the board, and please update your cards. But until it's valuable to you, I'm going to be a nanny. I'm just going to be chasing you around, asking you to update the board. Yeah. So oftentimes you have an outcome in mind that you're trying to get to, but you need to let the conversation get there on its own, and you can guide it. You know, I love Socratic questions to do that, but you still have to let other people talk.
But if that's the case, aren't you better served as a member, as a participant in the retrospective than a facilitator of the retrospective?
True. That's not usually the boat that we find ourselves in as Scrum Masters, as facilitators, right? It is our job to facilitate, to create the space for other people to fill. So we can kind of seed the conversation with what we want to explore, and this is true for team members too. Maybe they have a topic they want to explore, but they don't really know what they're going to dive in on. But frequently what this turns into, and this is when it's a dull knife that does more damage, is we have 3 really lame, worthless questions like what went well, what didn't go well, what are we going to do different next time? And we ask those every 2 weeks. Yeah. Over and over and over and over and over again.
But it's like too big for people to even
go
anywhere with.
Unless there's something obviously we need to talk about. Yeah. We are going to just come up with stuff to fill the air, and then we're going to walk out of the room. Yeah. What an exploratory retro ought to be is a chance to dig past the surface obvious things that are going on in our day-to-day minutia of our jobs and figure out what is the thing that none of us realize we need to talk about. And that's why it takes such strong facilitations to know when to leave a topic behind. Yes, we've talked about it enough. Or dig deeper on it and keep asking questions because I think there's something there. I think this is getting towards the thing that we need to talk about. So you're kind of playing verbal minesweeper.
It could also take a lot more time, too,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I've seen too many people do these and almost get somewhere, but then time is up.
Yeah.
So you can do a quantitative relatively quickly, but you kind of you have to let an exploratory retro sort of take its course.
I can't tell you how many times we're at the 50-minute mark and we finally start having the conversation we need to have.
Yeah.
And none of us knew that going into it. It's not even like I had such a good idea that I had to get the room there and convince them to talk about it. It was like, oh, this is it. Here's the light bulb. We have finally found our way to the right subject to talk about.
You know what's interesting too, though? You talk about needing that self-discipline to not guide the conversation where you think it needs to go. There's this other benefit that I've witnessed personally where I feel like I know something's off. I know that there's an easy improvement here. I just cannot put my finger on it, and I've got writer's block. I've got sticky block. Mm-hmm. And it's just so rewarding and relieving to see other people put the things up there that are like, that's it. I never would have come up with that, but that's the thing.
I think even more beneficial than that is helping you find your way to the right topic, even if you know exactly what it is. It is psychology that people are more invested in the change if they come up with it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you tell me to change my diet versus me realizing I need to change my diet, I'm going to stick to one a lot more. And this is the real change that you see in teams over time is they're coming up with these experiments. If they're the ones that actually come up with them, they're going to be that much more invested when they work or when they fail. If the team comes up with an experiment to try to affect an outcome, and they try really hard and it turns out that it doesn't work, they're going to be like, well, what are we going to do next? And they're going to be that much more invested in the next experiment to try to do it. If your Scrum Master is just giving you a list of action items at the end of every retro,
But there is a time and a place for the Scrum Master to be part of the retro and have somebody else facilitate. Right?
Absolutely.
And I think having a strong facilitator come in for an exploratory where the Scrum Master gets to be part of it is also a really cool thing to do.
When I'm brought in as a guest, it's almost always an exploratory retro, and it is more beneficial when I have no idea what the team is or what they're working on, because I get to ask stupid questions that everyone else already has the answer assumed for. And so I think there is definitely a benefit for exploratory to have less context sometimes than more.
And the Scrum Master, who's had probably no control over what's actually being done or happening, they're there to guide and facilitate, to be able to participate and bring their observations and still kind of be that mirror to the team can be really cool too, to be able to participate in that way without having the burden of facilitating at the same time.
Yeah, tough to do both roles.